writes love sonnets and compression algorithms? Leona Patel muttered, her fingers dancing across the glass desk in municipal cyber ops. Blocks of hexadecimal scrolled past, blooming and collapsing like urban fireworks. Outside the 20th floor window, evening spilled violet light over Harbor City, and every digital billboard from the piers to the elevated expressway rhythmically pulsed the same line. You are the flaw in my encryption, the deliberate crack that lets the sun in drivers we're pulling over to read. Social feed sentiment sat at 97% intrigued, which was better than panic, but still bad news for a city trying to sell stability. Leona isolated the malicious process again, a thing that called itself Cupid. It kept vanishing into printer firmware, bus stop touchscreens, traffic sensor microcontrollers, any device too old or too cheap to hold modern defenses. Each time she cornered it, code fragments fell away like rose petals, leaving only a different poem behind. Whoever wrote this is toying with us, she said to the empty room. A soft laugh answered from the corridor. A figure leaned on the door frame, hoodie unzipped to reveal a scratched tablet and spray paint splotches on black denim. He had a poet's mouth, dangerous curve, impatient corners, and eyes that reflected monitor glow like chrome. You're close, he said, but you should flip your hash comparisons. Leona's hand went to the wristband that could lock all exits and summon municipal security. But curiosity nudged her thumb away from the button. Who are you? Milo, he said, then smirked. On certain walls, they call me Glyph. The name rang alarms. Glyph was Harbor City's most notorious graffiti hacker, famous for tagging augmented reality murals that only appeared when you looked at a wall through a phone camera. He skated on the blurred edge between street art and cybercrime. Prosecuted twice, convicted never. How did you get into a restricted floor? Same way your virus does. Look for what's old and forgotten. He tapped the door's magnetic plate. This building still uses firmware from 2031. Leona's anger won a brief wrestling match with her fascination. You came here to brag? I came to help. I wrote Cupid. She stood. The room felt suddenly too small for two people, especially one who admitted to derailing the city's advertisement grid. Confess in writing, she said, and maybe a judge will forgive you for whatever this mess is. Milo shook his head, hair slipping from under his hood. I didn't unleash Cupid. Someone forked my original code and weaponized it. My version only swapped corporate slogans with Shakespeare quotes. Harmless civil disobedience. This copy eats infrastructure. He reached into the satchel slung across his back and produced a data shard. Built a sniffer that tracks Cupid's propagation. You'll need root on city servers to follow it. I don't have that. You do. Leona hesitated. She'd spent 4 years patching Harbor City against exactly this brand of anarchic creativity. Yet every billboard outside still glowed with lines so delicate they made her chest ache. She slipped the shard into a drive cage and booted a sandbox. A map of the city blossomed, threaded with crimson roots. Every hop Cupid made in the last 24 hours. At the center pulsed a deeper red, like a wound. The harbor maintenance yard, she said. Seriously? Legacy hardware paradise, Milo shrugged. And, he added, eyes flicking toward her, an open courtyard for large-scale spray art. If I were turning poetry into spectacle, I'd want a stage. Leona bit her lip. We need warrants, a detachment, maybe drone support. There's no time. Cupid's about to upgrade. He pointed to a timer counting down 2 hours. Your billboard poems? Act I. Act 2 rewrites building side projectors. Ever seen a 50-story love letter? Nice until it blinds traffic pilots. He headed for the door. Come if you want to stop it. Her training screamed, no, procedures, protocol. But protocol had already failed. The city was reading love poems where ads used to be, and the man who had started the story was walking away. Leona grabbed her jacket. They rode his electric motor skate through neon arteries. Milo piloted, body leaning canto smooth between automated cars, while Leona clutched the rail in the satchel of diagnostic equipment. Air tasted like sea salt, laced with exhaust and the faint, chemical perfume of aerosol paint. "You always bring government analysts on first dates," she shouted over the wind. He glanced back. "Only the ones who look like they understand stanza breaks." She surprised herself by laughing. When they reached the harbor yard, sodium lamps lit warehouses in pale amber. Shipping containers formed narrow alleys. Milo killed the board's motor and coasted to a halt. "This way." He vaulted a chain-link fence as if gravity were negotiable. Leona followed, less graceful, catching her sleeve on rusty metal. At the yard center stood a retired freight crane. Lattice arm frozen mid-bow like an iron giraffe. Beneath it yawned a maintenance shed whose roll-up door hung crooked. Inside, servers squatted on folding tables, LEDs blinking magenta hearts. Cables snaked across concrete into a battery of projection lenses aimed at a white silo wall. Scripts streamed overhead on hollow displays, curling around each other like lovers' names carved in trunks. Leona approached a console. "This is beautiful," she murmured, hating herself for meaning it. "Beauty can still punch out power grids," Milo reminded. She plugged in her tablet. Cupid's fork, call it Cupid, too, had written its own encryption. Keys randomized every 20 minutes. Yet beneath the novelty, she spotted Milo's signature loops. Subroutines that chose verse structure based on CPU temperature. It was like recognizing someone's handwriting inside ransom cutouts. "She used your tools," Leona said, "but this isn't your voice." He nodded grimly. "I think it's Archangel." Leona blinked. "The activist who hijacked the mayor's inauguration feed? She disappeared." "Not disappeared," he said. "Graduated. She was my apprentice." Silence pooled between them, disturbed only by fans spinning in the server stacks. "Then we're not just chasing a virus," Leona said. "We're chasing your ex." Milo looked at her. "Is that a problem?" "I'll tell you after we save the city." She copied a fragment of Cupid and began reverse engineering. Milo unpacked spray cans, uncapped one, and started painting glyphs on the shed's interior wall. Quick, practiced loops. "Seriously?" she asked. "Trust me." He sprayed a stylized padlock that glowed faintly in ultraviolet. "These are visual captchas. If Archangel ports through video feed, this buys 30 seconds. They worked in parallel. Leona refining a kill switch. Milo preparing physical and digital defenses. Occasionally, they swapped tools without words. The choreography of two people finding rhythm. The server fans whined higher. On the silo wall, lines unfurled. If a firewall were a fortress, your heartbeat would batter the gate projectors brightened, preparing to beam the stanza onto every skyscraper within line of sight. Cupid 2's timer showed 9 minutes. Leona swore. "I need the prime key," but the lookup tables obfuscated with nonsense variables. "Nonsense," Milo peered. "Those aren't variables, they're rhymes." He traced the pattern, lips moving. Keys embedded in an acrostic. "Vertical read." Leona highlighted the column. Letters spelled, "Mile-o-glyph forgave." Her breath caught. "That's personal." Milo's jaw tightened. "Archangel always loved dramatic apologies." The key unlocked the kernel. Leona injected her patch. Code that would quarantine Cupid. In a sealed VM. The timer flickered to 3 minutes, then to infinity symbols. A success chime rang. Lights dimmed, projectors powered down. "We did it," she exhaled. The opposite wall split with applause. Archangel stepped from the shadows, draped in a duster covered with circuit board stitching and paint splatters that mirrored Milo's palette. Her short platinum hair glowed ghost blue under unit LEDs. "Couple goals," she said. "You, Milo, and the narc." Leona straightened. "Municipal cyber analyst, actually." "Labels." Archangel twirled a knife-small utility blade between fingers. "I knew Milo would bring someone who speaks regulator. That was the plan." Milo's voice dropped. "Why escalate? You could have rewritten corporate ads without risking civilian systems." Archangel's eyes gleamed. "Love poems on billboards. Get noticed. Amor vincit omnia, babe. City Hall spends millions making people feel small. I spend some poetry making them feel large. Who's the criminal?" "You endangered pilots," Leona said. "A price for wonder." Milo stepped forward. "This ends now." Archangel sighed. "I missed you, your conscience, your cautious heart. But I'm not stopping. Cupid Door 3 will patch through quantum liaisons. You can't catch what lives in superposition." She flicked her wrist. The blade zipped toward Leona. Milo shoved Leona aside. The blade nicked his shoulder. Archangel pivoted, sprinted for the crane ladder. Milo chased. Leona grabbed a shock baton from an open tool chest and followed. They ascended metal rungs that rattled like snare drums. Harbor wind whipped Leona's hair, and below, water slapped pilings. Farther, the skyline shimmered, free for the moment from runaway verse. Archangel reached the crane cab first. Inside, an offline transmitter waited, shaped like a steel rose. She plugged a battery pack. Antenna petals unfolded. Leona's analytical brain revised probability tables. If that transmitter fed Cupid 3 aerial fiber, containment was finished. Milo burst into the cab. Archangel swung the blade again. He blocked with his forearm. Paint and blood mingled. Leona vaulted in, baton raised. "Stop!" Archangel's gaze flicked between them. "Look at you two. Binary stars. Adorable." "Pull the battery," Milo pleaded. "No one gets hurt." "I'm already hurt," Archangel whispered, voice wobbling just enough to betray memory. "You left. You crossed a line." Leona heard depths in those short phrases. History coded small. Aware of time, she sidestepped to the transmitter, scanning ports. She yanked the power bus. Sparks spat. Archangel lunged. Milo caught her wrist, twisting the knife free. The blade clattered. Wind howled through cracked plexiglass. "It's over," he said. Tears streaked mascara across Archangel's cheeks. "Over?" "Love doesn't obey endpoints, Milo. It propagates." She sagged. Milo kept hold until her rage folded into tremors. Leona radioed Harbor Patrol for pickup. Hours later, emergency lights washed the maintenance yard red and blue. Archangel, cuffed, looked smaller than her legend. As officers escorted her away, she called to Milo. "Remember the warehouse roof, 13th and Ravel." Milo flinched like the words pricked old scars. Leona held out a compress to his shoulder. He gingerly pressed it, wincing. "Thanks." She eyed him. "You're bleeding for a city that will probably still press charges." "Maybe, but at least the billboards are safe." She touched her wristband, accessing municipal privileges. "Optional field for suspect cooperation," she mused aloud. "Saved critical infrastructure. Surrendered evidence," she typed. "I can recommend leniency." Milo's eyes searched hers. "Why are you helping me?" She shrugged. "Maybe I like people who understand stanza breaks." His smile tilted, half surprised. "Coffee?" "Coffee." They met 2 nights later at a rooftop cafe above the tram station, concrete slab mottled with moss and moonlight. Below, Harbor City simmered. Billboards back to hawking travel insurance and revolutionary shoes. Above, the first autumn stars blinked. Leona handed him a slate. Cupid 2's core. I archived it. Dangerous to keep on municipal servers. Milo traced the icon. You trust me? You made it. Feels right you decide its fate. He inhaled. Write a checksum with me? He tapped the slate's keyboard. She laid her fingers next to his, drafting a hash along with a single-line comment. A flaw in encryption can also be a doorway. Their hands brushed. The city whispered underfoot. Traffic burble, laughter spiraling from an open balcony, tide sighing at piers. Leona noticed the way Milo studied her, like code he wanted to understand thoroughly before compiling. She felt a warmth that was half pride, half budding something else. You ever do graffiti? He asked. She laughed. I optimize packet flow. My handwriting is barely legible. I could teach you. He opened his backpack, revealing canisters. Tag a wall together. Nothing permanent. AR overlay. Disappear at dawn. Illegal. Artistic vulnerability assessment. She sipped coffee, weighing risk. Then she took a can. Its nozzle was cold, promising. The warehouse roof at 13th and Ravel slanted, corrugated sheet metal painted midnight. On one side, the skyline arched like a circuit diagram. On the other, the river coiled silver. They set to work. Milo drew sweeping strokes that resolved into labyrinthine letters. Leona practiced small loops, surprised to find rhythm-echoing code indentation. Arcs like parentheses, dots like semicolons. They painted in silence first, then conversation flickered. Childhood meanderings, favorite syntax quirks, music that helped them concentrate. Layer by layer, a mural emerged, a billboard in miniature, only instead of ads or poems, it displayed null space, negative shapes that invited the sky to finish the message. When the last can hissed empty, Milo stepped back. Ready to see? He activated an AR lens and handed it to her. Through the lens, the blank shapes filled with light script nervously pulsing. City of steel and sleep, we carve a little breathing room between code and concrete below. Credits. LP plus glyph. Leona's mouth parted. That's us. Only if you want it to be, he said, voice slender with hope. She turned. For all his swagger, Milo's posture was uncertain, like a semicolon deciding whether to become a period. She removed the lens, raised on tiptoe, kissed him once, gently. When she pulled away, he looked stunned, delighted, terrified. She felt the same. It's us, she confirmed. Weeks unfolded like fresh sheets of code. They spent nights on rooftops registering packet sniffers in constellations. Days wading through old firmware to teach the city new tricks without the drama. Sometimes they argued. She valued containment, he championed disruption, but argument became dialectic, producing solutions neither would have conceived alone. They caught small viruses, patched community Wi-Fis, replaced lottery ad jingle loops with local musicians. Licensed this time. People began noticing Harbor City felt more alive. Ads still sold, but also listened. Bus stops recited haiku donated by writers. The mayor credited a civic art initiative, though budget lines were mysteriously zero. One dawn, Milo woke Leona on her apartment balcony, eyes dancing. Come, emergency, she groaned but dressed. He led her to the tram as rain glazed street silver. They disembarked near an underpass once scrawled with obscenity, now blank. He guided her into the tunnel. Lights warmed overhead. Sensors detected their presence. Across the concrete curved a new mural, this time physical paint and embedded e-ink. It depicted two figures on opposite sides of a glass screen, reaching through lines of code that curled into ivy. The screen dissolved, their hands met. At the bottom, text scrolled. Insert wildflower, here. Milo knelt, pulled from his pocket not an engagement ring, but a seed packet. actual seeds, from a reclamation garden outside city limits. "Let's plant something," he said. "Not just code, not just paint. Roots." Leona knelt too, tears threatening circuits. "I'm in." They tore the packet, pressed seeds into damp soil of a planter box he drilled into the tunnel's drained gutter. LED grow strips hummed alive overhead, programmed to mimic sunlight. When finished, they sat side by side, backs against fresh paint, watching raindrops bead on blossoms that hadn't sprouted yet but would. "Do you ever worry," she asked, "that we're the virus now? Rewriting the city to say what we want?" He considered. "Maybe. But a virus consumes to replicate. We're just leaving love notes." She chuckled. "Small difference." "Massive," he insisted. "A virus has no consent. People can ignore a poem, walk past a flower bed. Choice matters." She leaned into him. "Then let's keep giving them choices worth pausing for." Above, sunrise seeped through cracks, painting the tunnel mouth rose gold. Their mural shimmered, code and concrete, and two silhouettes side by side, waiting for wildflowers. Months later, Harbor City celebrated the unexpected. Billboard companies reported increased engagement despite fewer overt ads. Pedestrian surveys showed spikes in delight. No one could quantify delight on quarterly spreadsheets, but budgets rearranged themselves anyway. In municipal cyber ops glass sanctum, Leona coded a patch that would allow any citizen to upload short verses to certain public screens. Moderated against hate, weighed for balance, she titled the protocol Cupid 4, smiled at the audacity. A message pinged, "Ready outside, bring chalk." Gee. She smoothed her blazer, powered down the workstation, and stepped into twilight. Milo leaned on the motor skate, holding 2 sticks of chalk. "Where to?" she asked. He pointed upward. "The plaza fountain. Blank slate of stone. You know you can't paint public monuments." "That's why chalk! Impermanent!" She climbed on the board behind him. As they rolled into gathering night, billboards all around them, cycled ads, plus something extra at the corner of each frame. Small italic lines viewers would notice only if they cared to look. Love is an exploit slipped carefully into ordinary traffic. She tightened her arms around Milo's waist. Harbor City rushed past, alive, humming, happily vulnerable in just the right places. And somewhere between lines of code and seams of pavement, 2 people chased and caught a virus, only to discover it was never the poems rewiring the city's heart. It was their own.